I mean, I didn't even think anything other than the fact that this team was going to dominate the Mountain West Conference. Overwhelming favorites going into this season in the Mountain West Conference. So Dave Velasquez is going to be joining us. In fact, he is joining us right now. Dave Velasquez, assistant basketball coach at San Diego State. They'll get ready to get back into action tomorrow against Utah State. But, Coach, I'm not going to sugarcoat this. I got to come out firing here and ask you, what is going on with the Aztecs offense? 31% shooting last night, only 45 points. The team has struggled offensively the last couple of games. Defense saved them, but hard for defense to save you when you only score 45 points. So what is happening offensively with this team right now?
You know, we were not good on offense. And I think it's important for us all to look in the mirror and from each player to every coach and see what we can do differently. You know, and there was opportunities we had in transition where we didn't play downhill. You know, the analogy we're using as a coaching staff, watching the film last night together, watching the film this morning is, you know, we played like a running back who dances behind the line of scrimmage and never hits the gap. Mm-hmm. You know, we're playing a lot of east and west. We're not playing very north and south. And, you know, they did a credit Utah State. They had a great game plan for us, but there was just so many times we were so passive and not aggressive on the offensive end of the floor. And we need to change that. And one of the hardest things to do is to teach confidence and swagger, and make sure our guys know how much we believe in them. And we really believe that they can make a lot of plays. But at the end of the day, you know, as a staff, we've got to put them in better positions. As players, they got to play more aggressive. And we got to make some adjustments moving forward. And you're absolutely right. This has not been a one-game thing where we didn't play well on offense. This has kind of been a recurring theme of, you know, play with more swagger. You know, we don't have a go-to guy outside of Matt Mitchell where you say, hey, Matt, you know, go get us a shot. In the past, and I'm not saying just last year with Malachi and Fagan and Wetzel, did we have a guy you can just give the ball and get a shot up? I mean, you're talking about, I've been here 20 years, and we can go back to Brandon Heath. We can go back to Tony Bland. We can go back to Marcus Slaughter even. I mean, we had a lot of guys, Lorenzo Wade. I mean, we had a lot of guys that you could say, okay, end of a shot clock, 8 seconds on the clock, go get us a bucket. And they had the ability to do so. And with this year's team, it's more of a team effort. And they've done a good job up to this point of playing the right way, sharing the ball, continuing to move without the ball, play the right way. But again, I think it comes down to one word and one word only, and that's to play more aggressive.
Coach, here at the radio station, we get such a benefit of kind of getting to know some of these players. And over the last few years, we've really gotten to know Matt Mitchell. And so you can understand last night watching that game, our hearts kind of collectively sunk when we saw Matt go down with that injury and knowing it's a knee injury. Of course, we're trying to stay positive here, think positive. What do we know right now, and what are we going to learn today?
Well, first of all, you know, we're going to think optimistically. We are thinking optimistically. The doctors were optimistic last night. With that being said, he has an MRI out here this morning. Hopefully we'll find out everything we need to know by midday today with Matt's knee. But like you said, I think it's very important, and it's been great to all the text messages that we've gotten, all the calls we've got about Matt as a person, and not just as a player, but as a person. He's everything you want when you sit on a kid's couch, and he's 16, 17 years old, and you talk about when you come to San Diego State, we're going to help you become a better young man. By the time you leave San Diego State, we're going to help you, and you are going to be a much better person than when you showed up at San Diego State. And Matt, to me, is as good of an example of what it means to grow up through a program, fight through adversity, fight through success, continued success. He's been outstanding for us. He's one of the best leaders we've had since I can remember here behind the scenes. I mean, Matt is just a phenomenal person and absolutely an awesome player, and we're hoping for the best for him today.
Well, same here, Coach. And, I mean, obviously, I think the chances are slim he plays on Saturday, tomorrow. How does the team respond to something like that when their leader's out?
You know, this team is resilient, and we have a veteran group. You know, we'll bounce back, and you know, if Matt can't go, and that's still an if, underlined if, capitalized, can't go, then we're going to have some others step up. You know, I think it's going to, you know, mean some more minutes for some guys that maybe don't play as much, and other guys are going to have to change their role a little bit, change their mentality when it comes to, especially on offense. And Matt he's a really good defender. He does such a great job boxing out, does all the little things that you'd want a player to do for you on the defensive end of the floor. But offensively, he's always kind of been okay, let's get Matt the ball, get him in the mid-post, create a shot for yourself, or get somebody else a shot. And there's been times where, that's been our go-to offense, is get Matt the ball, draw two defenders and kick, or get to the front of the, middle of the paint and score the ball. And, at the beginning of the game, he had some uncharacteristic turnovers because he just wasn't aggressive enough. But as that game started to go on, Matt started to get some paint touches, started to get some easy looks, and he finished in double-digit scoring. Him and Nathan are the only two with double-digit scoring last night. So, Matt's, it's a big hole to fill. I'm not going to sugarcoat that either. It's a huge hole to fill if Matt doesn't play, but we're expecting some guys to step up, and we're confident they will.
Coach, turnovers. Both teams had them yesterday. Obviously very frustrating. You want to play an up-tempo style of basketball, especially when you're playing from behind. But I'm curious, you talk about the game plan, preparing for the game tomorrow. How do you coach to not turn the ball over so much?
I mean, it's so uncharacteristic. And it was really uncharacteristic out of both teams. I mean, I'll start with them. I mean, if I had told you guys on before the game, hey, we're going to hold them to 57 points and they're going to have 18 turnovers, and I say, who wins? I think you guys would say, well, San Diego State. So, but for us, and obviously with 45 points and 17 turnovers, it's not very much. It's obviously not good enough. And a lot of our turnovers, again, it was so uncharacteristic. We were playing so passive. We had five or six turnovers. Literally, we'd throw the ball inside to the post. The post would catch it. And then right away, we just throw it out to the perimeter. But there's a guy in front of them. They never shrunk the defense. They never collapsed the defense. So again, a lot of our turnovers weren't in up-tempo basketball, to be honest. I mean, we need to play more. I mean, 3 times, 4 times more up-tempo tomorrow than we played. I mean, our offense, and we've proven this, you can go right back to St. Mary's. You can go back to the Colorado State games where we played pretty well offensively. Is our best offense is in transition. And so, you're saying 3 out of 5 games before last night, our best offense is up-tempo, playing in transition. And again, guys, you get on the road, things are a little different on the road. And again, it's our first deal with that real adversity this year, and with a lot of stuff. Shots weren't falling, weren't aggressive enough. Matt goes down, and so I'm excited to see this character and confident in the character of this team to come out tomorrow, be ready, play with a lot more confidence and swagger than we played with last night, and to continue to play north and south, and for all the football fans, instead of east and west. I mean, I think it's just that analogy in the way we watch the film. I don't think there's any easier way to put it for fans and for everybody to understand how we played last night. We played like an east and west running back instead of north and south.
Dave Velasquez joining us, Aztec assistant, back in action, rematch against Utah State tomorrow here on Xtra 1360. Coach, last year with Malachi and Yanni and KJ, you get these one-year guys that come in and just play incredible basketball, and they just seem to mesh immediately into what you guys were doing. And this year, we got Terrell Gomez. It looked like he had turned the corner, played well against Colorado State. The shots were dropping, but for the second time in 3 games, 0. I mean, it doesn't seem possible that this guy, one of the most prolific long-range shooters at Northridge, can't seem to find his game right now. What is going on there, and what adjustments as a coaching staff can you help him with to try to unleash the offensive firepower that we know he's capable of displaying on the court?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it's something that we're working on today. It's something we worked on a little bit last night with Terrell, and a lot of it's belief in himself. A lot of it's understanding that role and definition of role, and the role on this team for him. I mean, he's been so good as a teammate and making plays for others, and defensively, he's probably grown as much as any player that we've had in this program in a short time. From where he was when he got here, his former team's habits, to what his habits now in the defensive end. However, his role on this team is to score the ball and to score the ball consistently. And a lot of that just starts with him just getting shots up. If you look at some of those games, he averaged 16 against Colorado State in those 2 games. He had 19 at 13. He had 13 against St. Mary's. But the next few games, he's not even getting up enough shots for him to get in any type of rhythm. And again, as his role he's got to play more to his role of being a scorer for us. And again, he will. And we've seen it. And you guys have seen it even for us, let alone what he did at his former school. But what he's done for us at times is he's been that spark plug to come in and make some shots. And you guys can go all the way back to the UCLA game where he hits that 30-footer off the bounce when the 5-man got switched onto him. I mean, those are the type of shots he's capable of making. And it's one of those things that we need to get better at as we move forward in the season, is to get more consistent scoring out of those positions on the guard spots.
Coach Dave Velasquez with us here on Extra 1360. Coach, watching the game last night, I thought that you actually did a pretty good job defending Neemias Queta, but then you look at the box score, he had 14 points, 16 boards. How do you limit him a little bit more on Saturday night?
We got to provide a little bit more help, to be honest, and that's how good he is, guys. I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I mean, he's far and away as good of a 5-man as we're going to play, and he's obviously one of the best in the country. I mean, we did do a decent job. We also forced him into 4 turnovers. He leads his team in assists. He only had 1 last night. So he's a challenge. He is a load down there, and he never stops moving. He never stops posting. He does a great job on his teammates' drive of finding open areas, catching the ball, finishing around the rim. So he's a challenge, and you're right. We did a pretty good job. Now we can do better, but we did a pretty good job last night, no matter what the numbers tell you. And the thing we can't let happen is the 5 offensive rebounds. 1 or 2, okay, he's just always around the rim. He might get them, but 5 offensive rebounds for 1 guy is unacceptable, and that's something that we got to clean up moving forward towards tomorrow.
Well, and speaking of tomorrow, 2 things. Early start, real early start for the game tomorrow, how that's going to affect your team. And we talked about this, Coach, that once you hit the road, these back-to-back weeks against Utah State and Air Force where you're playing at elevation, how would that affect the team, especially in the second game? So those 2 factors, what kind of factors will they be for tomorrow?
Hopefully none. I mean, you play like we did last night. I mean, shoot, we wouldn't mind playing right now. Get that bad taste out of our mouth, to me. And when you come to ask about the early start time, I mean, that's as good as it gets. You got practice today. You got treatment today. You got a little bit of practice, in terms of, getting their legs fresh, getting their bodies right. And then when it comes to the altitude stuff, we've been dealing with this for a lot of years. And to me, obviously, it's real. But at the end of the day, it's a mentality. And our mentality has got to be, we are coming out to win the game, no matter what, no matter what the circumstances are. It's 11:30 start out here. That's not 7 in the morning. Start 11:30. That's when we practice at 11. So it's not too early of a start for us not to have our bodies ready and fresh and ready to go. And then when it comes to altitude, we're in the Mountain West. It's part of what we signed up for, and it's something that we have to not think about and try to do whatever we can for our bodies to not have to react in a terrible way, and go out there tomorrow with the mentality that we're not feeling it and we're coming out here to get the win.
Well, I know there's still a lot of games left on the schedule, but I don't think it's overstating it. This is a must bounce-back game for the Aztecs, especially, as you said, Coach, the way they played last night. Good luck tomorrow, Coach. Hopefully we'll get the W and get this team back on track.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you, and go Aztecs.
Yeah, all right, go Aztecs. So, huge game. I mean, early start. What's the start again tomorrow, Ernie?
Actually, it is a 10 o'clock countdown to tip-off. It seems like the time is changing, and then a 10:30 start.
Yeah,
in the morning.
All right, so early game tomorrow for the Aztecs, trying to bounce back after a very disappointing performance last night.